In this video, I'll be teaching you everything you need to know to get started in Marathon. This will be a beginner's guide to the game for new players that should set you up nicely if you missed out on the recent server slam or you're just looking to learn some useful tips and tricks before you jump in. Let's kick off with a tip for the tutorial itself. So for tip number 1, look around during the tutorial, don't just follow your quest marker. There's loot to be found that you can keep in your upcoming runs or sell for profit. It's not going to be much, but it'll get you started in the right way. Now, I've seen quite a lot of players speculating about lockdown zones during the server slam, and while this is definitely something for players that are a little bit more geared up, I wanted to cover it in this video so you're familiar with the event when you decide to give it a shot for yourself. During your runs, you may get an alert notifying you that a lockdown is about to occur on a particular part of the map. You'll know you're in the right place by the huge spaceship that appears above that zone. Heading into this area will damage you unless you use an antivirus pack. This will give you a buffer in which to operate within the area, the duration of which is displayed at the bottom left of your screen above your health bar. You'll need a handful of these antivirus packs if you want to complete the event fully. Enter the area and look for a corruption field disabler. A small blue icon should appear on your HUD, guiding you to its exact location when you are nearby. Take the disabler to the shining blue beacon you'll see firing up into the sky and insert it into the terminal you'll find there. This will remove the damaging corruption field and give you a lockdown drive, dispensed from the computer right beside you. Insert the drive into the large blue loot container within the event radius and prepare to defend yourself from waves of enemies while the drive is being scanned. If you make it all the way through this event without being killed by UESC or other runners, there will be loot waiting for you inside the container and, more importantly, an unfinished lockdown drive. Once a single lockdown event has been completed, another will pop up soon after, and if you can complete that second one, your unfinished drive will become a prime lockdown drive. You can complete 3 lockdown events in a single run, with loot increasing to higher quality each time. We weren't able to complete a third lockdown in our runs during the server slam just because we ran out of time before we needed to exfil, which seems to be a pretty common problem with this event, but if we had got lucky and there was enough time in the run to complete the third lockdown, the rewards, I've been told, are very lucrative indeed. Your codex is essentially a list of challenges that you can fulfill. Keep an eye on their progress and you can unlock rewards like titles, loadout packages, and cosmetics for both your weapons and shells in the colors of each faction. There's also some lore in there if you want to learn a bit more about the world Marathon is set in, but honestly, it's a bit too wordy for me. Contracts can be completed for all of the factions available in Marathon, but early on you'll have to unlock each faction in order to work with them. Once they become available to you, focus on completing the contracts labeled Introducing, offered by MrAtomicDuck. They'll unlock the other factions and thus give you access to even more contracts, upgrades, and rewards. I'd recommend getting as many MrAtomicDuck contracts as you can completed in the early stages anyway, since they unlock access to key items like backpacks, vault and wallet capacity upgrades, faster looting speeds, and even upgrades to your heat capacity. After that, New Caloric makes for a really good faction to work with, since they supply health packs, shield charges, and shields themselves once you unlock them. The mechanic known as heat is essentially a form of stamina in Marathon. Sprinting, sliding, and using certain shells' abilities can build up heat, whereas some items you collect will work to reduce or clear heat, as well as slower movement actions like walking or crouching. If you stack up too many abilities in a row or sprint for too long, for example, you'll overheat your shell and will have to wait for the entire bar to clear before you can use anything else again. What's particularly interesting is that environmental factors can also be used to your advantage in this department. If it's raining or there is a high wind, you'll notice that your heat will reduce at a much faster rate. The same can be said for wading through water. This will clear your heat much faster. Making use of your surroundings in Marathon is imperative to your survival, and taking the opportunity to reduce heat buildup during a fight could be what you need to outrun an opponent or use one more ability that could swing the engagement in your favor. Now, while we're discussing movement-related mechanics, it's worth noting that running with your knife out, which can be equipped by pressing 3 on your keyboard by default, is faster than running with a firearm. Just keep in mind that you'll be slower on the draw if a hostile runner makes an appearance. Movement speed with other weapons is determined by their weight. The higher the weight, the slower you'll move when wielding them. Now, knowing your loot categories and what they do is going to be important to help you prioritize what's worth collecting and what's better left left behind during your first few runs in Marathon. Salvage is bartered in the armory for various items, as well as being used for faction upgrades. These items are essentially how you'll make your shells stronger, your inventory space larger, and all sorts of other improvements that will drastically improve your combat efficiency. Data cards are instantly uploaded the moment you collect them in return for credits. Even if you don't make it back, you'll keep anything you uploaded, so keep an eye out for these while you're looting. They will always be out in the open and not in loot containers. Valuables are luxury items that are sold for credits. They will be auto-sold when you return from a run. Priority items are often used for events of some kind, such as coordinate datapads that will reveal a hidden cache if you find 2 of them. They are auto-sold on exfil but give you no credit reward, so if you aren't planning to use them, drop them in favor of other items. Implants and cores both provide limited upgrades to your character. You can have a maximum of 2 cores equipped at one time, and an implant for your head, torso, and legs. Certain cores may only function for a single shell, but can still be carried if you equip them to save inventory space. In my experience, implants are much more common than cores, which is something to consider when putting together your loadout. Consumables mostly cover medical items such as shield recharges, health packs, or cleansers that will remove debuffs from your shell, but you'll also find items that provide temporary buffs in this category too. If you find an item like this, consider using it if you have no inventory space left to carry it, rather than letting them go to waste. Depleted consumables will be removed from your inventory upon exfil, so use these to top up your health and shields, give you a quick boost, or just drop them to make room for more valuables before you leave the run. Schemas are essentially a sort of blueprint that will allow you to purchase the specified item from the armory at any time. They are displayed just below today's sponsors, usually affordably priced, and give you access to some rarer items if you get lucky with the schema that you find out in your runs. Now, if you're short on equipment, remember there's free sponsored kits available in the armory at all times. They aren't going to be amazing quality, but especially this early in the game, they're great for jumping in with limited risk while you learn the ropes. As you progress farther into the game, you'll unlock higher quality sponsored kits that require credits to purchase, which come complete with cores specific to your shell, setting you up for an ideal run quickly. They have a limited stock each day, so use them wisely. Successfully completing a run with a sponsored kit will reward you with reputation for the sponsoring faction, so it's a great way to earn extra brownie points too. On a similar token, the Rook shell can be used exclusively on solo runs and comes with a very basic loadout. Many of the capstone upgrades for factions will upgrade the starting gear when using a Rook shell too, so they'll only get better as you play more. They have access to a tactical ability that temporarily deceives UESC into thinking you are friendly, and their prime ability gives them gradual repairs over time. It's great for low-risk loot runs, but keep in mind you can't complete contracts, join a crew with other players, you'll be unable to access certain locations too, and you will join your runs late, so you won't have a full 25 minutes to loot. Pay attention to the additional stats that implants can offer your shell. This is displayed just underneath the description of the augment that they apply. For example, some implants may appear mostly useless at first glance, but they may have additional stats applied that are more beneficial, like extra heat capacity, quicker ability recovery, and increased movement speeds. Likewise, what you initially think is a great implant for its active effect could negatively affect your stats, so keep a close eye on them. They may do more harm than good in some cases, and would be best sold for credits or held back for a different run. Objective progress for contracts is shared, so being on the same one as your crewmates can be very beneficial and makes your runs much easier. You can see which contracts you and your crew are on by opening the map and using the buttons at the top right of your UI. Vault weapons in Marathon are quite interesting compared to standard ballistic weapons. They use tracking projectiles that will essentially apply a little bit of aim assist to your shots, and while I don't find them to be as good in PvP because of their slower fire rates and projectile travel time, batteries used as a magazine for these weapons actually recharge as you sprint, essentially providing more ammunition between fights. You'll have to train yourself not to reload after every engagement with these weapons, and they definitely make a reliable sidearm for dealing with UESC since you won't have to carry quite as much ammo. The triage Charged Shell also gets some extra bonuses with Vault weaponry when using his Battery Overcharge trait, causing your enemy to suffer from an EMP every time you break shields with a Vault weapon. Now, pinging enemy shells is usually a good idea, but doing so to a recon shell will alert them to your presence and thus their team if they have one. Try not to ping runners using this shell if you can avoid it, and if you aren't sure which shell they're using from a distance, it may just be better to communicate via your comms instead to avoid detection. Tau Ceti is a dangerous place, and not just because of the UESC and other runners that are trying to kill you. Flora can apply negative effects like toxins that can be removed with mechanics kits. There are explosive mines and automated turrets to avoid as well, and if that wasn't enough, there is also wildlife that won't take kindly to your presence. Keep your eyes peeled and watch your step. Now, revisiting Flora for a second, keep an eye out for plant life that can be collected for upgrades, bartering, or just for profit. If you're unsure about how to complete an objective for a contract, place your cursor over it on the contracts menu and you'll be given extra intel that could help you with locations or give you advice on how to prepare. Once you get close to the exact location of your objective, a green icon will appear on your HUD, which will direct you to where you can complete your mission. Weapons in Marathon come with a trace status. This mechanic essentially seems to be designed to keep rare weapons a high value by removing one trace stack every time they are taken from a dead runner. When the number of trace stacks would reach 0, the weapon is instead dismantled for credits on exfil. You can see how many trace stacks a weapon has on the inspect menu via right-clicking. When you're exploring a structure, look out for vents like these that can be destroyed with a quick melee hit. They can unlock new routes into and out of buildings, giving you an opportunity to flank another runner or make a quick escape if you're trapped. Some rooms are locked and will need keys to enter them, whereas others may be filled with hazards like toxic gas pouring into a loot-heavy room. Hazard override cards can be found that will allow you to access a laptop nearby and completely remove that toxic fog, leaving the loot yours for the taking. In a pinch though, you can also make a quick dash into the room, loot containers, and then clear the damaging toxic debuff after leaving the room with a mechanics kit. Triage's med drone can also drastically slow the rate of damage taken in these rooms. Make sure to familiarize yourself with barters offered through the armory. They are essential for acquiring items you use frequently, such as shield charges, 3 of which can be traded for a single spark leaf with new caloric, for example. Each faction will have different barters available, and further trades will unlock as you level up your rank with those factions, so make sure to check in every so often to update your knowledge. If you're playing as a duo or a trio, keep in mind that you can still revive your teammates even after an enemy has finished them off while in a downed state. This means that if you lose a member of your crew and don't think you can win the fight, it can sometimes be better to get somewhere safe and revive your team after the threat has passed. Sure, they might be missing some loot or equipment, but at least they'll have another chance to earn back some gear and then exfil safely. When exploring a point of interest, keep an eye out for these antennae on rooftops. These are TAD terminals and will allow you to scan the nearby area for threats, including other runners. If you're not sure whether someone is lurking nearby or want to locate the exact position of a hostile unit, they can be a great help for this. If you spot some red flares while exploring, you should know that this symbolizes the location of a high loot area filled with lockboxes that need lockbox keys to be opened. If you can collect a few of these keys, it can make for a very lucrative looting opportunity, but there's equally a high risk involved since other runners may be looking to poach your loot once you've done the hard work and open the lockboxes for them. Calling an extract initiates a bright blue beam that can be seen across the map, so make it quick once you've called it in, and likewise if you're approaching an extract in use, be aware that other players may be using it as bait. If you become downed at an extract, you can crawl into the radius and you will still be able to get out safely so long as you aren't finished off. Triage's med drone can be attached to other players to heal them. That much is relatively straightforward. What you might not notice is that the drone displays how much of your health and shields it can restore on its LED faceplate. It's also displayed just above your health bar. Oh, and he hides when you crouch, which doesn't do anything, I just thought it was really cute. When you start to get to the point where you can afford to take buff consumables into a run with you, consider purchasing an energy amp that you can use at the start of your run. This increases the rate at which you regain your tactical and and prime abilities. So at the start of a run, this just means you'll have your abilities available before other runners, which can give you a big advantage if you get into a fight early on. If you ever encounter a loot bag with no runner shell beside it, this is a trap pack and will explode when you attempt to loot it. These can be placed next to bodies, so be careful not to get yourself killed. If you attempt to loot a trap pack, there is a small window of time where it makes a beeping sound while you're holding F, and the searching text will change to include numbers. This confirms the trap and you should step away to avoid an untimely demise. So that's it from me in this video, and that is everything I think you'll need to know in order to get started with Marathon. But if there's anything I've missed, please do let me know down in the comments, and it'll serve to help other players that are fresh to the game. I've got another video coming up soon after this one, focused on each of the runner shells and deciding which one is best for you. So if you're watching this a couple of days after it was uploaded, it might be worth checking if that video is available if you're looking to learn more before you jump in. Thanks everyone, and I will see you all in the next one.